Compost Conundrum by the Green Team.
I am Sarah Puente, and I am the project manager.
I am Julia Salgado, and I am the research manager.
Purpose. This project aims to reduce how much food waste results from our school lunches. The compost project could even lead to our own school garden if it's taken to a larger scale. With a larger scale compost program, we could drastically reduce the amount of food waste produced by our lunches. Our background research. Composting isn't simple, as you need to understand what can and cannot go into your compost. We learned that not only is food waste compostable, but things like cardboard can be composted as long as it has no heavy dyes or is not coated in plastic. In addition, it needs to be broken down so that it does not take up space and can be composted more easily. Like plants, we learned that compost must also be kept moist to break down organic matter. Food waste, our problem. In the United States, 30% of all food, worth $48.3 billion, is thrown away each year. Roughly 1/3 of the food produced in the world for human consumption every year, approximately 1.3 billion tons, get lost or wasted. Nearly half of all foods and vegetables produced globally are wasted each year. U.S. households throw away an estimated of 19.4 million tons of food every single year. An outside expert. Crystal Price is a geology expert. We learned from our outside expert that since compost has chemical reactions in landfills, they take up the energy from these chemical reactions to make an energy source.
Hypothesis. If we measure the amount of compostable material, then we will be able to estimate how much we can reduce the waste that results out of our school lunch.
Materials used. We used a composter, a compost accelerator, aprons, gloves, trash bags, and a basin scale to measure how many pounds of compostable material we collected.
Our procedure step by step. 1. We created flyers to teach kids what can be composted. 2. We collected compostable food waste for a week. 3. We attempted to compost a percentage of the food waste. 4. Using the results of our composter, we estimate how much food waste we can reduce. And 5, present findings to administrations to start a full-scale composting program.
Our flyers. We created these flyers in order to tell everybody how they would separate all their waste in lunch. So we told them where they would separate their recycling and their garbage. And for our composting, we put what can be composted so they know what they can give to us for we can compost later.
Our data collected, this is for one lunch period. Using the data from day 1 and day 2, we can estimate how much compost material we could have collected on day 3 and day 4. Because of COVID, our teacher was out for like a very long time, so we could only compost for 2 days. The exact number of pounds of compostable material we produce each day cannot be said because the yields are different every day. Additionally, some students eat their food, which is good, but reduces the amount of compostable materials collected. The fact that some of our upperclassmen also go out for lunch affects our results as well. So as you can see, for day 1, we collected 2.8 pounds of trash or waste. On day 2, we collected 7 pounds of food waste. And using the average, we could determine that on day 3 and day 4, we would collect 6.3 pounds of trash. This is our data collected. So we know that on day 1, we collected 2.8, but if we multiply that by every lunch period, we could collect an estimated 19.6 pounds of trash. On day 2, if we collected for every lunch period, we could have collected 49 pounds of food waste. For a school week, if we could collect 220.5 pounds of trash. And in a school month, we could collect a total of 882 pounds of food waste. And for a school year, we could collect an estimated 7,938 pounds of food waste. Using our estimates and data from day 1 and day 2, we can calculate an estimate of how much food waste we can save in a week, month, and year. These are our estimated results. On day 3, we estimated that 6.3 pounds of compostable material would have been collected in day 3, and on day 4, we estimated that 6.3 pounds of compostable material would have been collected in day 4.
Our conclusion. At a large-scale compost program, we can save an estimated 7,938 pounds of food waste every school year. Our hypothesis was correct because we were able to estimate the amount of food waste we could save. Some of the mistakes we made in our experiment were not collecting enough data as possible and not collecting data for all lunch periods. If we were to do this experiment again, we would collect data for the whole week and for all lunch periods. Next steps. If our school implemented a composting program, we could start a school garden. As already mentioned, a composting program will reduce the amount of food we waste every day. Since we know that the composting process has energy we can harvest and use, that is also a possibility. We would need to meet with our principal to obtain funding on making this program possible. This was some photos of our process on day 1. As you can see on the top right corner, there is our compost when we finish putting it in. We put on some compost accelerator just to help it, and we turned it up a bit. Here was our photos of our process on day 2. We added some dead leaves and some organic material just to help the composting process. Here are sources that we used for our facts about how composting can help many food waste, and thanks for your time.